I'll go ahead and talk about the main driving tech in this game. It's a racing game, so you probably already know there's some drifting technique you need to do. In this case, it's mini turbos, where as I'm drifting, I'm oscillating the control stick back and forth at various intervals, and that's allowing me to build up that charge. You see the smoke is changing from white to yellow to orange, and it's kind of building up the charge, and once it's orange, I can release it and gain a small speed boost. It's a 7-phase process to get a mini turbo in this game, and it's very frame dependent, so doing them optimally is actually quite difficult. So I want to try to get the item block from this, I want to try to get the item block from that balloon there, because there's always a blue shell on that item block. So I want to be able to use this for a potential shortcut at the start of lap 3 here. The shortcut I could have done was I could have done a start boost off of a heavyweight CPU and jumped off of them and gone into the tunnel below. Something similar to what you'll see me attempt in a little bit, but because the CPU positions are different, I couldn't have gone for it. I normally do this as Yoshi, in case anybody's wondering. Alright, nice, I got that. So by using the blue shell, it aims for whoever's in first place, except I'm in first place, so it aims for me. And I just use that to throw me over the wall like that, because that wall apparently has no collision detection on the NTSCU version of the game, because good game design. And that's one track down. So, yeah, a time in the low 140s is usually good for Luigi Raceway no skips, so as you can tell, that shortcut saves a good chunk of time. And if you do the other shortcut, you can get a time in like the 115s. So next up is Moo Moo Farm, and this track unfortunately does not have any shortcuts or skips of any kind, because it's really just a simple design. The only thing you really have to worry about are the moles, which kind of have RNG to them. So I kind of just have to stay away from them, except for one part where I am going to be driving through them. I'll go over some other basics to know about this game. So I just brought up that the moles are RNG, but for a Grand Prix mode, another thing I have to worry about in terms of RNG are the items. So there's an item table that exists in this game for both the players and the CPUs across all game modes. That lets me know, for example, that mushroom in first place is a 10% chance. So obviously for RTA, you can't reasonably manipulate what items you're going to get at any given time. So it's just kind of a matter of maximizing your odds of getting specific items, because there are going to be some shortcuts that will require me to have specific items, and there's just going to be times where certain items are better to use. Another thing you're probably wondering is character selection. So I have the character bid war specifically between Yoshi, Toad, and Peach, because those are all the lightweight characters, and they all tie for having the same top speed. The only real differences between the three are that Yoshi and Peach are slightly heavier than Toad, which only matters when interacting with other characters. And Yoshi is the quickest to select off the Kart menu, so he's usually who players will use when they're doing all cups runs. And another thing, the CPUs do rubber band in this game, but they do so in like a weird fashion. But basically, if a CPU is off camera, physics just stop applying to them. They can go through walls. It's really weird when it happens. So Koopa Troopa Beach also does not have any skips or anything that would be classified as a skip, but it does have a built-in shortcut that was obviously built into the track and is allowed in no skips runs of this game. So it's this little ramp jump here. Oh wow, I failed it. So there's a backup you can do here that's kind of finicky. There we go. I'll waste a little bit of time, but yeah, obviously that is allowed in no skips, including the method that I just used for it. And so is this glitch. So you can't normally get a golden mushroom in first place, it's just not possible, but there's a few polygons to the right of the finish line that mistakenly think you are behind by a lap. And so while you're on those polygons, it will think for a few frames that you're in 8th place. And so by activating an item while on those polygons, I can get an 8th place item. And optimally, you know, I want something like a star or a golden mushroom, any kind of speed item. That was some pretty good RNG that I got there. Alright, so I got it again there, but not with a useful item. Again, you cannot get a blue shell in first place unless it's from one of those special item blocks you saw me get in Luigi Raceway. There's also one in this track, funnily enough. But it's really stupid to get, and there's nothing useful you can do with it, so we're not going to get it. It loses about 7 seconds to miss that ramp jump on each of the 3 laps, so the fact that I got the backup cleanly was pretty decent.
Yeah, got it.
So now I want you to get your blessed RNGs out because this next track is the first track where in order to perform a shortcut, I do need a specific set of items. So the primary shortcut I want to do for this track requires a star, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the item blocks, and then I have to backtrack into 8th place and just hope that I get the right item. So get ready. Okay, blue shell is definitely not what I want. Lightning is also not what I want. So yeah, sometimes a star is the highest probability item you can get in 8th place, and you also have the highest chance of getting it in 8th place. So not getting it twice in a row is kind of bad RNG. I believe it's a 30% chance in 8th place. There we go. I got it in 6th place there. So weirdly enough, this is technically a shortcut that was built into the game. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go through the train tracks to my left, and then as you pass by the finish line, you activate the star, and it will advance you forward a lap. But as you've seen already, Nintendo is incredibly good at making video games. So they forgot to take into account that you can just kind of enter the tunnel through this direction, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to wait for Lakichi to tell me to turn around, which is right here. Then I'm going to turn around, activate the star, and skip a lap. Pretty good programming there, if you ask me. And in case you're wondering, driving on this sand here is actually faster than staying on the main road, even though it does slow you down a little bit. It's even better if you have like a mushroom or something. And we're coming up on the final lap here, which means I am going to reset the console so I can skip the trophy ceremony. And my strat for that is actually I just hold down the reset button, and then once I cross the finish line, I release it, and it resets right away. So now we're going to be heading on to the Flower Cup. And we're starting off with Toad's Turnpike, which has one of the more fickle shortcuts in this game. So hopefully this doesn't take me too many tries. That was a weird start boost. Alright, so that was not a mistake. I did that intentionally. Alright, I got it first try. Nice. So that probably just looked a little bit confusing to you, but trust me, it can all be explained. When you go out of bounds in this game, obviously Lakichi picks you up, but while he's still on the screen when he's placing you down, he actually can't pick you up again. So I use that to basically beat him to the out of bounds section and jump from the higher level to the lower level, which saves a good chunk of time on its own, but if I did that correctly, then it could save even more time, and I don't know if I did, so I'm going to play it safe. Alright, that is not jumping out of bounds. Okay, I have to do that again, so hopefully I don't run right into a car again. This shortcut's really, really annoying. Okay, there we go. So what I'm trying to do when I do that jump is you want to stay above the road, because then it sort of breaks the checkpoint system to where you can just, as soon as you cross the finish line, you can just jump out of bounds, and then Lakichi will warp you halfway across the track, which funnily enough was a glitch that was introduced in the later versions of the game. It actually doesn't work on the Japanese 1.0 version of the game, so they fixed something that broke this for later releases, and we still have no idea what it was. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that a third time, which is unfortunate. Alright, come on. The trucks here are all on cycles, but obviously you're not going to drive this the same way twice, so... Oh my god, this is a really bad Toad's Turnpike. This trick saves a decent chunk of time too, so I do want to get it. Alright. Alright, this will be my last attempt at it, I think. Actually, I'm far... Okay. I think I just need to drive forward. This is really bad. Fortunately, you get all the good items when you're in 8th place, so... Yeah, that shortcut can get really difficult when you have no idea what the car cycles are on, so I just kind of had to decide to just bail. there's no good visual or audio cue to time when to do that jump, so you just kind of have to hope that you get good timing there. You kind of go by feel, and when the cycles are all off, and it's just so bad. Alright, but I'm still going to be finishing in first somehow. So we're just going to pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, that's a very reset-heavy shortcut, so I'm not surprised that it went as horribly as it did. If I had gotten the wrong warp to work, this track would have gone like way better. You can get a time that's like over a minute faster than what I got. Now I think we get a little bit of a breather, because Frappe Snowland has one of the easiest shortcuts in the entire game. You just turn around at the start here, and then you jump from the bridge to the snow without touching the road, then cross the finish line and go out of bounds, and as you're about to see in the lower left-hand corner, I just get magically warped from 8th place to 1st place, and I can do this 2 more times to just finish out the race. Basically, I'm tricking the checkpoint system so that I'm placed far back enough behind the finish line that it doesn't decrement a lap for me. And I can finish all 3 laps faster than a no-skips player can finish 1. Again, that's a super easy trick. You could literally try it at home and probably get it down in like 2 minutes. Also nice time, 31:31. So up next is Choco Mountain, and this is a pretty reset-heavy track as well. This is a mid-game run-ender for sure. So this is the first track where you'll see me go for wall jumps. There are certain types of slanted walls in this game where if you approach them with just the right speed and angle, and then jump the frame before you hit them, you can actually jump off the wall and get a significant amount of air. And there's 2 different places you can go for that in this track. Okay, so what just happened there was my speed was so high that it is normally a frame-perfect jump, and like there it is too, but if I hit the wall and tumble like that, what that means is I had so much speed that there literally was not a frame where I had to time the jump. So we call those 0 frame jumps, and that's what makes these wall jumps super annoying, because you essentially don't have any control over them. Nice Luigi. But these jumps do save a significant chunk of time, so hopefully I get to show off at least one of them. Okay, yeah, I got 0 framed again. This backup jump is a little bit more lenient than that hill jump because you get 0 framed less often, I feel like, but it's still really, really annoying. A 33-second lap is roughly what you could get without shortcuts, so hopefully I can get at least 1 lap that's faster than that. Okay, I got the wall jump there, but I didn't get the proper amount of air, so I didn't make it all the way over. Okay, I hit that banana, so I'm just going to drive forward. It wouldn't have really been worth it to try those jumps for longer than I would have liked, because if you don't finish a race in the top 4, you actually have to redo it. So I just kind of had to book it. Yeah, this is a track that's really, really annoying when you're actually doing runs. So kind of not surprised as well. So I will most likely be doing this next track non-shortcut. If I happen to get a mushroom, there is a trick I will attempt, but other than that, this track is pretty straightforward. There is also a lap skip you can do involving red shells, but I don't know how to do it, so we're just gonna drive this one out. I've used as many corner cuts and mini turbos as possible. Really, the driving is where you're gonna save most of your time when doing the runs of this category, because obviously the shortcuts are really, really hard, and they save a lot of time on their own, but it's obviously the frames that matter for taking all the good lines, as is the case with any driving game. So again, I'm just kind of hoping for a mushroom, but again, it's a 10% chance in first place. In case you're wondering, I could also get a mushroom from a boo, because Boos in Grand Prix mode do not actually steal items from other CPUs. They function like normal item boxes, except they also have a 20% chance of giving you nothing, which is amazing. So Boos are primarily useful for invincibility frames, and nothing more. In Versus mode, though, they will actually steal items from other players, but not in Grand Prix mode. And so I didn't get to a mushroom to show off the shortcut. Basically, would have just been hopping over that wall there. It really does not save much time, and I'm really bad at it, so I probably wouldn't have gotten it anyways. We're coming up on the second reset of the run. Funnily enough, as the tradition, we actually reset a little bit early, because if this were a clean cartridge, the trophy would not be saved to the cartridge. Okay, so now it's time for Wario Stadium. This track can either take under 30 seconds or take forever. It really depends on how nice the game wants to be to me. So a really well-known shortcut here where you can just kind of hop over this wall. It's probably not as well-known as you can hop right back over. And this is another frame-perfect jump that's sometimes literally impossible. Yeah, like that. So sometimes you can get here in runs and that just happens over and over again. Oh my god. So, I haven't talked about CPUs and using items yet. The 8th place CPU does have a 1% chance of getting a lightning, so the fact that I just got it there is really, really unfortunate. Luckily, CPUs can pick up shells, but they can never use shells, so if you ever see me get hit by a shell, it was one that I shot out. But that was still not too bad of a Wario Stadium, even with that lightning. So I'll take that for no reset. Anything in the 30s is usually acceptable for no resets. You can do that in like under 20 seconds, so that wasn't too bad. Okay, so up next is Sherbert Land, as you can tell. So we're going to be taking a break from shortcuts now because this track has no humanly viable shortcuts. I say humanly viable because if you've ever watched the TAS by Drew Weatherton, which if you haven't, I would recommend watching immediately after this run, then you're probably familiar with the fact that there are shortcuts on this track, but they involve really crazy item manipulation and also really crazy CPU jumps, which I cannot reasonably predict where the CPUs are going to be in any given case, so I can't really go for those. So we're just going to be kind of driving this track out. It's worth noting that the penguins are on cycles, so as long as I drive the same way every time, which does not always happen, I'll pretty much know where they're going to be every single time. And the real issue is falling into the water because you turn into a frozen ice cube and it takes a few extra seconds to break out of it. And also you don't want to run into those penguins head on because as you just saw, you kind of spin out and you lose about 3 seconds per time you hit a penguin. So again, tracks like this are just about doing as many mini turbos as possible while taking good lines and also cutting corners. Those gap jumps can be risky because sometimes if you press R like a few frames too early or too late, you just fall into the water. Yeah, so Yoshi gets spinning out. In 150cc, you can actually spin yourself out, but you can prevent that by like mashing the B button and slowing yourself down. Another thing is you probably noticed at a few points in the run that I was accelerating from a stop, which doesn't seem very normal, and I accelerate very quickly. That's because if you're playing as one of the lightweight characters, when you're at a stop, you can triple tap the A button and you accelerate a lot quicker. That actually applies to all characters, but it's most noticeable for the lightweights. Also, something is during these point screens, I'm actually holding start and mashing A, because that advances through them a lot quicker. Royal Raceway is a pretty cool track because it has a pretty interesting shortcut in it that can be used on all 3 laps and saves a significant chunk of time. It's not terribly difficult to execute. So I'm going to hop across this river here and try to hit this wall at a specific point, and I didn't hit it. So the word "poomp" didn't show up, which is why that didn't work. So I'll try that again. There we go. So you see that polygon line there? You want to hit just to the right of that polygon line, and it makes the game mistakenly think you tried that big jump and missed somehow. So it just places you back on that ramp, and even with that miss, that's still going to net me time save for this lap. It saves a good, like, 14 seconds per lap. if you do it without a setup. Optimally, for me, I'll usually get no skips laps that are in like the 48s or 49s. So obviously, yeah, that trick does still save me time. And I can go for it again on all 3 laps. There we go, that should work. Again, I'm looking for the word poop. If I don't see poop, it probably didn't work. As you saw on lap 1. There is another shortcut which you've probably seen top runners use, but I am not good at it, and it's really not worth it, especially for marathons, so I just don't bother with it. It's basically, once you're on the ramp, you can sort of jump off to the left and hit the wall and get like key to the place you get around the last corner. Alright. So I hit it again there, even though I was almost too far to the left. And in case you're wondering, yes, you can drive over to the castle over there, but obviously when you're racing, you don't really need to do that. This is another track you can do the finish line glitch in, but you need a boo in order to do it, since no items roulette far enough to be able to use it. Yeah, only missing that shortcut once isn't too bad. Still managed to finish that track in under 3 minutes, and that's still probably like over 35 seconds faster at least than if you were doing it non-shortcut. So Bowser's Castle, again, does not have any skips or shortcuts that can be pulled off non-tasks. So I'm just going to be driving this one non-shortcut as well. The thwomps in this area are all on cycles, and once again, since it's hard to drive the same way every time, it's kind of hard to know where they're going to be, especially with those 3 thwomps that are kind of blocking you off. In order to know which thwomp you want to go under, you kind of have to see and react, and it's going to be different almost every time you play this track, at least if you're at my skill level. If you can drive this track the same way every time, then you don't have to worry about that. But it's hard to know. You have to sometimes make a split-second decision as to whether to go to the left or the right, or sometimes just down the middle. And then there's also the 2 thwomps that try to hunt you down and block you off, which is just makes it even better. And keep your eyes open for Marty, because he's behind bars and has never been let out of his jail cell. So let's see. Here, I think I want to go to the left. Okay. If you get crushed by those thwomps, you lose a good chunk of time. So I'm going to be holding this fake item box behind me for a little bit, because, interestingly enough, holding items behind you and zooming the camera out like this actually reduces lag if you're playing on the Nintendo 64. We have no idea why, because it's very counterintuitive. It doesn't really matter too much on this track, but it does matter on some other tracks like Calamari Desert, or a couple of tracks in the Special Cup. Alright. So let's see how these swamps are going to be to me here. Alright, left looks good. Okay, that was entirely my fault. I did not react quickly enough. Again, just, you didn't see that. You also didn't see that. Okay, that bridge is the thinnest part in the game that doesn't have sides, so it's really easy to drive off there. Alright, just go. Get me out of here, please. This run has been an experience, I will say. Alright. I'm still gonna finish the race properly, so this reset is still valid. So we just got 1 cup left, and then we'll be done with this. So now it's time for DK's Laggy Parkway. Fortunately, we're not going to be spending too much time here, so we won't have to deal with the lag for too long. Because this has a pretty big lag skip, as is the nature with this game. So I'm going to turn around at the start here and line myself up using some visual cues. And the corner of this wall just doesn't exist, so you can drive through it. And this finish line extends slightly out of bounds, so now I'm in first place. And I can just do that on all 3 laps. You don't actually have to land back in the cave. You can land in the water, and it will still count the lap. But landing back in the cave is obviously faster. So this is fine. But it is suboptimal, so you want to avoid it if you can. I gotta do that one more time. There we go. That was still a pretty decent GKJP. Aw, I wanted to get some bananas there. Guys, you can hold bananas behind you during the point screen and reduce lag the entire time. But Toad was kind of a nuisance and stole them from me. I think it was Toad, I don't remember, it all happened so fast. So, next track, Yoshi Valley, can go a variety of different ways depending on what items I get at the start here. I am going to be farming for triple mushrooms, which is actually a better item to try to get in either 5th or 6th place. But if I don't get them, there's alternative route strats I can do. So I'm going to wait for about 5 or 6 CPUs to pass me here and then activate this item. Oh wow, I got them, nice. So I'm going to be able to do this lap, I'm going to be able to go for this lap skip on all 3 laps here. This is going to be a good chunk of time. That's like ideal RNG here. So I'm going to boost off here, jump this fence, and you want to hit this dark line and bounce left, and that usually means you got it. Don't ask me why this works, I don't really know, but it just skips a lap. And I can do this on all 3 laps. Again, if I didn't get triple mushrooms, there was an alternate path I could have taken, but this is no, this is definitely something I will take. Hopefully I get this 3rd time. All right, getting that 3 for 3 is really good. So yeah, Yoshi Valley done in under a minute. Okay, so we got the second to last track, Banshee Boardwalk, coming up. And this is a track that also does not have any shortcuts or skips, at least, again, non-tasks. But I want to be keeping an eye on the CPUs this track, because I noticed that I have DK in the top 4. So when you select your character in this game, the game will also choose 2 other characters to be your rivals. And there's usually a primary rival and a secondary rival. So I usually want my primary rival to be a heavyweight character, so either Wario, DK, or Bowser. And the reason why that matters for the Special Cup is because I actually, for this track, I actually want one of those 3 characters to finish in 1st place, and for me to finish in 3rd. Because that'll allow me to set up for a pretty cool trick at the start of Rainbow Road. But that obviously requires the CPUs to cooperate, which I cannot directly manipulate. So be rooting for DK here, because it looks like he's one of my primary rivals. So don't root, and you can root for him a little bit more, because I do actually want him to win this race. This track is extremely scary because of the lack of guardrails everywhere, and bananas are almost always placed in the worst possible spots. CPUs, they can never throw shells, but they love to drop bananas. And they love to drop them in spots that can easily screw you over. Alright, so last lap, hopefully DK doesn't choke here. Although it looks like Mario is my secondary rival, so DK is my primary rival, I'm pretty sure, so I think we're good. Oh, wait a minute, Mario took him over. It's eventually you become good at sort of multitasking and keeping an eye on the CPUs and your driving. This might not work out. I think DK is gonna lose. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and finish the race. That's unfortunate. So basically, if DK had actually cooperated and finished, I could have jumped off of him at the start of Rainbow Road and done a really cool shortcut, but unfortunately that's no longer going to be able to happen. So instead you get to see the regular shortcut, which is actually something I'm not terribly great at, so hopefully I can pull this off. Alright. This is a really hard jump to do in 150cc because you have to release A right before you do the jump, otherwise you'll overshoot it. But I made it, which is good. Right, and getting a green shell there is optimal, so because I'm in 1st place now, I want a green shell, because this is Mario Kart 64, and we can do interesting stuff with this green shell at the end of the lap. This is normally the longest track in the game without skips. A single lap is pretty much the length of all the other tracks, and it's about 5 minutes long in total. But with skips, you can reduce that time by around 3 minutes, assuming everything goes well and you get good RNG. This is a very annoying track at the end of runs, because the green shells are the highest probability item you can get in first place, but the game does not always like to give them to you. So we're coming up on the end here, and basically I'm going to try to use this green shell to throw me over the edge in a specific way. It's a bit harder than it looks, though, so I have to do a pretty precise setup for this to work. I'm going to line myself up using these item boxes here. Okay, that was a bit too close to the wall, so I unfortunately messed it up. I have to get this before the CPUs make it all the way around, so RNG, please. Okay. This is my last attempt at this, or else I'll have to drive another lap. So I'll wait for this chomp to pass by. Uh-oh. That banana was in my way, so I couldn't go for it, so I'm gonna have to drive another lap. That's really unfortunate. Looks like I'll get this again, which is good. Like I said, CPUs love to place bananas in the worst possible spots. So that's going to cost a little over a minute, I'm pretty sure. This run has been not terribly great. But we'll still finish it out. Okay, got another green, so we're good. I might have to go a little bit past the item boxes if that banana is still there. So I can still show off this shortcut, it's just, it might take me a little bit longer. So I guess before I finish this run off, I guess now would be a good time to make a plug here. If you want to run time trials for this game, which I don't do, but there's an incredibly active community for them that's been active for like over 2 decades, then you want to check out MarioKart64.com. That's where you can find all the time trial rankings for this game. Alright, so is that banana still there? Yeah, so I'll go ahead and get rid of it, so that I actually have a chance at making this. Alright, there we go. That was a bit of a janky setup, but it worked. So again, similar to Fry-Based No Lane and DKJP, I crossed the finish line, but then I'm going to get placed far back enough behind the finish line that I have to skip an entire lap. And time's coming up soon. It's going to be when I cross the finish line for the final time. And time.
Yeah, got it.
Alright, my timer says 33:08. That is, surprisingly, not the worst marathon run of this game I have ever done. That was an experience for sure. But, still showed off a lot of cool stuff, so hopefully that run was enjoyable for you all. Thank you.